Okay, so I got a chance to see The Wolfman in IMAX tonight. This is going to be my quick out of the theater reaction. This film is non-stop tension, going from the very opening frame to the very end credits. This film just keeps building and building and building the tension. And there's a great sequence that takes place in a greenhouse that I thought was very tense. And this has some of the best use of sound design I've heard in a horror movie in a long time. Leigh Whannell does such a great job at bringing this environment to life and really immersing the audience into this world and making everyday sounds, simple things such as a twig snap to the rustling of the leaves in the wind. These things shouldn't be scary, but Leigh Whannell makes them terrifying because he makes you question, is there something out there looking back at us that the characters aren't seeing? And he really makes the environment a character. The environment is really secondary, is a secondary threat in this movie. And I really liked the way that he does sound design. This is the type of movie that I like to call environmental horror, because it's not so much what you see is terrifying as to what you hear and what your brain makes of those sounds. There's a great sequence in the film where it sounds like there's a creature stomping on the roof, and as the character gets closer to the sound starts to get louder and louder and louder. And I'm not going to spoil where that sequence goes, but it really plays with audiences' expectations. And that's one thing that this film does brilliantly, is it takes the traditional horror tropes and it goes the opposite direction. You think it is going to go the same way that every creature feature does. And I thought Leigh Whannell was really smart to carefully direct those sequences, because I won't spoil anything, but he sets them up as the traditional trope that we're familiar with, and then the payoff is drastically different. And that was something that I really like about Leigh Whannell's direction in this film. And another thing I have to give credit to is the Wolfman, because the Wolfman doesn't really show up in this movie till about the midpoint. And the way that Leigh Whannell decides to unveil this character is through quick cut editing to blurred imagery. And as you start to see these glimpses of the Wolfman leading up to the reveal, he shows what's the word here? He shows more and more with each shot. In one shot, you might see the arm of the Wolfman, and you get a close up of the design of it. And you just, small things like that really go a long way for this movie. And at this film's core, this is really an emotional story. This is a heartfelt story about a father who doesn't want to become his father. And really that's the big theme of this movie. And let me tell you, the setup, the execution, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's a lot of scenes in this film that have a lot of heart to them. Because the film does a great job at very early on building the chemistry and relationship between this family. And there's some really good, back and forth, family love. And that plays such a big part towards the end of the film, when the daughter starts seeing this different side of his father. And yeah, I don't want to get into any specifics, but there's a few key lines in this film that are very important. So pay attention to the dialogue. The script in this movie is really good. Like, this is a very tight and confined script. The film is not very long. It's paced really well. It's shot really well. The performances are great. Really, this film really surprised me, actually. I was a little bit concerned because of the January release. I cannot speak tonight. January release. January, sometimes occasionally does have a few surprises, Megan. So, January isn't always bad. And, I'm happy that this film, does. At least at the moment, it's making a pretty good record for January. January, could turn out to be a pretty good month for her. And I'm just so glad that Leigh Whannell is back directing. He directed another MonsterVerse film, The Invisible Man, and from him going from that, which is another Blumhouse property, to The Wolfman. I'm so excited to see what this guy does next. And definitely throughout this movie, you definitely see a bit of that upgrade flavor in here. I thought the action sequences were great, and this movie really surprised the hell out of me. So this is a must watch. Definitely go see it in a theater with the biggest screen, with the loudest sound quality, because this is definitely the type of film that is definitely meant to be seen with a crowd on the big screen with surround sound. So go check out The Wolfman.